continue to Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Female Empowered Podcast. I am your host, Christa Gurka. Yes, I am. And today's episode is entitled How Being Booked Out Leads to Being Burnt Out, and how we want to avoid that at all costs. Okay. And the truth is, a lot of times we create this structure ourselves. So most small business owners, we hit a point where we're maxed out. We're maxed out on how many clients or patients or classes we can teach. We're maxed out on how many hours we can do admin work. We're maxed out on how many hours we can help with homework, et cetera, et cetera. And what I want this episode to do is to help you grow strategically without the burnout. So we're going to talk about signs that you're hitting a growth ceiling and you are getting close to being capacity, whether it's you, whether it's your team, whether it's your physical space, how to decide what to outsource first in your studio, the decision between raising prices and expanding services, what's the better move and when's the best time to do that, and then ultimately building a business that does not rely on you for everything. All right. And recognizing that entrepreneurship is a long game. It's a long game. All right. It's a long game. And to be honest, there's no winners at the end. There's no finish line. I guess some people would say there's a finish line if you sell your business, but yeah, it's an infinite game, as Simon Sinek says. It's a great book if you're interested in reading his book, Infinite Game. Okay, so let's get down to it. I can tell you personally from my own personal experience in being a business owner and growing multiple locations and to multiple seven figures, I hit roadblocks several times throughout that journey. Most of them were things that I created unintentionally. So it was my personal time. It was my energetic bandwidth. It was also my ability to be able to understand the task that was in front of me and make the best decisions. Um, so most often we become the roadblocks and the bottlenecks. So let's talk first. Let's first get into what are signs that you're hitting your growth potential, you're hitting your growth ceiling, and you're going to have some decisions to make as a business owner. So what are some of those signs? Well, sign number one, which is usually the clearest sign, is that you're completely booked solid. Your calendar is maxed out, right? There is no more room for classes, for clients, for teaching, for marketing, for administrative work, and for as now, especially if you are providing services in your business and you are maxed out doing 20, 25, 30, 32 service-based hours a week, there is going to be very, very little time for you to do the back end operations of the business, which is the hardest part of the business, especially when that's not our forte necessarily as a business owner. So the marketing, the sales, the hiring, the onboarding, the bookkeeping, financial metrics, the list goes on and on, customer service, all of these things, they take a lot of time, and that doesn't include your personal life, right? So certainly if your schedule is booked, your calendar is booked out, and possibly the profits in the business have plateaued. So basically you're working your ass off and you're really not seeing the cash flow change very much, right? And so what happens? So when revenue plateaus and profit plateaus, despite full schedules, it's a likely sign that your current model is maxed out. All right. You're turning away potential clients. You have a long wait list. You're cutting corners to try to make everything fit. So you've given up your workout time because you need to get that 6 a.m. client in or something to that effect. So that's one way you can certainly tell if you are hitting your ceiling. So you're booked solid, your calendar's booked out. There's no more room to take anything on your plate. Number two is quality is suffering. So I'll give you a few examples of that. Like client experiences are starting to deteriorate. Why could this happen? If you as the owner are so busy that you can't train new hires properly and give them the right expectations and the right onboarding, maybe your sales process has really gone to shit. Or maybe you have instructors that are cutting corners, or maybe you're cutting corners because you're always so busy and you took a client at 2 o'clock when you have to pick up your kids at 3. So you're always rushing that client so you can get to your kids on time. Or, you're not having time, or your team is not having time to plan out classes, to plan out their one-on-ones, to follow up with clients like they're supposed to send out those exercise programs like they're supposed to, because there's no automations, there's no systems, there's no processes, and you're not having all that extra time to check in on your clients, right? And so you're always cutting corners, and the quality of that is the result of that is the quality that you deliver as client experience is suffering. Okay, so calendar maxed out, quality suffering. Number three, you're personally starting to burn out. The emotional, the physical toll it's taking its toll. All right, you are losing excitement to do things outside of work. You're exhausted all the time. And maybe you're making mistakes. Maybe you are forgetting things that are important, like forgetting to pay that bill or forgetting to do this because you, again, don't have a system or a process. So your growth could be breaking your business, right? Without the systems and without the processes, you could be leading yourself to burnout. Now, we talked about a profit plateau. So if we go into that a little bit more and we break that down a little bit more, when you have financial plateaus, like the revenue and profit have stalled despite the amount of work you feel you're doing and you're putting in. So if there's no more space on the schedule, income will stop coming in because you're at capacity. Now, if expenses continue to rise, and then your profit margin is also going to go down. So let's say you're maxed out, but then so you can't bring any more revenue in the door, and now your rent goes up. How are you going to bring in more revenue to pay that increase in rent? Or you need a new reformer or something breaks, right? Now you're at a financial plateau, you're at an income plateau, what's going to happen is as you start to have to increase expenses, your margins are going to get to be smaller. All right. And so what happens in these situations is you have no bandwidth mentally or physically to implement new revenue strategies or new revenue um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Revenue, streams of revenue. All right. So that again, if you're so overwhelmed with the stuff that you have to do, the stuff that you're supposed to be doing, like marketing, like growing the business, like hiring the right people, like giving the right onboarding, like deciding, oh, I do want to start this new membership model, those all get put on the back burner just because you don't have the energetic bandwidth at the end of the day to get them done. And so you have this never ending to-do list of things that never get checked off. All right. Another sign that you could be reaching your ceiling is when hiring isn't solving the problem. So sometimes people are like, well, I just need to hire people. I just need to hire someone. Right. So, but you maybe have hired people. You maybe have actually even built a team, but things still fall apart if you're not there. You don't feel like you can go on vacation. You keep telling yourself, oh, if I just hire the right person, things will get easier. Um, but spoiler alert, it's not the hire, it's the lack of system and structure and process you have in your business. You can keep hiring people over and over, and then what you're going to think is, well, nobody can just do this job like I can, or but like it's their fault, they're not listening. But if you don't set clear expectations, if you don't set clear guidelines and accountability, and you don't have the structure in your business, it doesn't matter how many people you hire, still going to lead to the same result. All right. And last but not least, you as owner are the bottleneck in every single process. So if your business cannot function without you approving everything, having your thumbprint on everything, solving every problem, or being present 24/7, you, my friend, have become the ceiling, because there is only so much you can do at one time, and you yourself are limiting the growth potential of your company, and ultimately freeing up you and your time to do what really matters in your business. Okay, so what do we do now? So what happened? So maybe if you've checked off like 3 or 4 of those lists, so let's review the list. Number one is you're totally booked out. Your calendar is maxed out. Number two is the quality that you're delivering, whether it be you or your team, is decreasing. It's suffering because you don't have the time to implement the right systems and processes. You yourself are personally burning out. You are snapping at your team, maybe even snapping at your clients, because your cup overfloweth. All right. You're hitting a profit financial plateau, whether that means revenue coming in or profit that you get to keep. Hiring isn't solving the problem. And you recognize that you having to have your thumbprint on every single thing that happens in the business is creating a bottleneck. All right. So now, what can we do in order to move past this? All right. So, number one, the first thing I tell people is we have to learn to delegate. Yes. And now, if you're thinking, I do delegate, but nobody does it as good as I am. No, 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 honey. No, no, no. That is just your ego talking. Are you delegating or are you abdicating that responsibility? Those are two different things, okay? Delegating to someone is what that process involves is you delegating a task, a process, teaching them how to do it, and then making sure that you both understand what done looks like so that you're in agreement when they deliver those assets or those deliverables or whatever to you. It's good. It's fine. It's like you've delegated it. They've understood it. You both agree on what done looks like. And now the only next step is to hold them accountable to that. All right. So we have to be strategic in how we are outsourcing different skills and different systems and different accountabilities to our team. So number one, what admin tasks can you delegate to someone else? Do you have to return every email? And I'm talking about the main emails that come to like info@pilatesandgrove.com, info@peloton.com. Like you personally probably don't have to be the one that returns all of those emails. Do you have to be the one that is doing your bookkeeping? Do you have to be the person answering the phones? Do you have to be the person that's creating graphics for your social media and your marketing content? Okay. All of these things can amount to 5, 10, maybe even 15 hours of week, 15 hours a week that you can reclaim of your time. Now, in the inner circle and actually in the FitBiz Foundations group, we have a training that's called Elevate and Delegate. And we go through what we call the Eisenhower matrix, which is basically it's like an X, like I guess a T. And what we build out in each of these little quadrants are things that we are good at, not good at, we like, but we're not good at, et cetera, et cetera. And then we help business owners figure out what are the very first things they need to be outsourcing. Because once you know what you need to outsource, then you can find the right person to outsource them to. Because it does not work if you outsource some of these tasks to people that's not their job. So if you outsource creating graphics maybe to one of your instructors and she's not a graphic designer, she doesn't enjoy being creative, she doesn't really know how to use a software like Canva, that's not going to work out. It just isn't. Okay. So again, one of the things we do in our FitBiz is work with people on this Eisenhower matrix so we can get the most important things to get off your plate or things that you're not good at and they don't require your time. Okay. Now, what are some specialized skill sets that you can hire an expert to do? And by the way, virtual assistants can be experts in certain things. We talked about bookkeeping. You can certainly hire bookkeepers. Okay. You can hire marketing consultants, interns, social media interns, especially the younger generation. They are phenomenal with videos, right? They can create and edit a video, especially if you give them a little bit of guidance. What about what's website management or tech support? Can you outsource these things? I have someone that I use as my all things IT. And I actually even had to just email him today, text him. He's not on retainer. He charges me for the work he does, but I text him and I just say, hey, listen, I'm looking for where I keep my domain. I can't remember where it is. I have to get my DNS uploaded so that it can verify the email account, all this jargon. And in one text, he sent me back, oh, you're on here, you're on Cloudflare, here's your login, do that. Like I probably could have dug, it would have taken me a couple hours to figure out how to do this, but with one text, I have it and I'm happy to pay for that service. All right. So what I want you to think about is calculating the return on investment, the ROI for your specific time. So you can really wrap your head around this outsourcing mindset. Okay. So what is your hourly rate? So for example, I know a lot of private pay PTs. I charge $250 an hour. So people charge anywhere from what? Oh boy, I'm so sorry. I just got a big yawn. It's the middle of the afternoon when I'm recording this, so I apologize. So if your hourly rate is anywhere from 150 to 250, okay? If you outsource 5 hours of your time a week, let's do 4 because it's equal numbers, okay? So if you outsource 4 hours a week of your time, and your hourly rate is 250, okay, that is $1,000. You can take that time now and either see more patients, teach another class, go to the doctors, etc. Okay. Now, let's say a bookkeeper, right? Let's say you spend an hour a week on your bookkeeping. Well, if an hour of your week is $250, you can hire a bookkeeper for less than that. You can hire a bookkeeper for like, you know, anywhere between $300 and $500 a month, and you can buy that time back. And also, you're not a bookkeeper. You weren't trained like that unless you were, which I doubt, but you're not a bookkeeper. So now you're paying yourself $200 an hour to be a bookkeeper when you're not a bookkeeper. So you suck. You would fire yourself if you were your bookkeeper. What about a website designer? Sometimes it's easier to pay for those things. It's going to cost you less money than you doing it yourself sometimes. Okay. I say this over and over and over again. You're going to pay with time or money. And when your time is at capacity, you got to start paying with money so that you can buy back your time. It's the only way to do it. At the beginning, when you don't have a lot of clients, or you don't have a lot of patients, or you're not teaching a lot of classes, certainly use your time because you don't have that much money. But eventually, when you don't have any time, you're going to want to buy it back by outsourcing a lot of this information. I mean, a lot of these tasks. Okay. So the mistakes that I see people making when they do outsource is, again, they're abdicating versus delegating. So it's really important that when you do delegate a process, you delegate it with clear, concise instructions. Then you both agree on what done looks like. All right. Try not to micromanage them. Allow them to do the process, maybe put their own little spin on it. If mistakes are made, you address them in real time would be great, and recognize that mistakes are going to be made and resist the urge to jump in and fix them. All right. So let's get into the next part. The next part is talking about pricing strategy, all right, versus service expansion. So what do we mean by that? We're talking about, again, you're maxed out, you're burnt out, you're reaching your ceiling. So how do you decide between raising your prices and expansion? So signs that it's time to raise your prices. All right. One, if you are underpriced in the market, you should definitely raise your prices. Okay. Two, if you are booked out with a wait list, it could be time to raise prices. Even if some people opt out, you'll get more people from the wait list and from overcapacity to opt back in. All right. So how can you decide? So then it becomes, do you want to stay the same size you are, maybe treat less, but earn more? So if you see 20 clients a week at $100 a session, right? That's $2,000 a week. Now, if you raise your prices to 125, right? And you keep that same 20 people, now you're going to be up to $2,500 a week. But let's say some people decide not to stay. Okay. So now you go down to 17 people, right? And you're still making more than you were with 20 people. So now you can see less people, 17 people, and still be making more money. You'll be making $2,125 if you're seeing 20 people, if you're charging $125. All right. Now, again, depending on what you're doing, whether it's private Pilates or PT, I was just pulling that random number out of my head because I just thought it was easy math. So you can decide, do I just want to stay this same size? I actually want to try to see less people. So I'm just going to raise the price. Okay. Now, the next thing is, when could you possibly expand your services instead? You can identify different complementary offerings that your clients already want. Make sure that those complementary offerings are profitable, And then I would test them, like beta test them with a certain group of people before you roll them out. So that could be something like a PT clinic, a physical therapy clinic, offering wellness services after people are done are done with therapy. Or maybe there's an additional for a Pilates studio, maybe there is an additional type of service you could offer, like maybe some recovery services or things of that nature. So let me give you some ideas of creating, a premium tier for your most premium clients. So if you want to try to find a way to increase the average value spend, the average spend of each customer, because again, that will bring in more money without necessarily more work. There are some things that you can consider doing that are, how would I say this, that like exclusive offerings. All right. So for example, you could do something like, similar to like Amazon Prime. So let's call it a Pilates Prime membership, right? So you have a Pilates Prime membership tier for like, I don't know, maybe it's $49 a month or like $3.99 for a whole year or something like that. Okay. And what do they get when they get this premium membership? They get an early registration window. So, like, let's say you only open up your schedule for 3 months at a time. People that are on this membership, they get it a week before everyone else gets access to it, or 48 hours before. So they get their first dibs on getting all the most popular classes. So that's one way to do it. You could also have where they have, let's say you don't open your schedule, you only do it 1 month at a time. Maybe they have the ability to schedule for out 3 weeks versus only 1 week or something like that. You can give them discounts on additional offerings. So if they pay this Prime Pilates membership, they could get discounts on a one-on-one session, or maybe if you offer physical therapy also, they can get discounts on physical therapy, maybe 10%. Or if you offer recovery, maybe they get that for free because it's not really a service. It doesn't cost you anything to provide that service. So another good thing, I just thought of this, is like they could get first dibs off the wait list. So if you're on this Prime membership and you're on a wait list, it's like, when you get upgraded on a plane, like on when you travel, upgraded to first class. So if someone with more status goes on that wait list before you, they get bumped ahead of you. So if you have these type of memberships, if a person goes on the wait list and the person ahead of you doesn't have this membership, this Prime membership, you bump them on the wait list and you can get into a class before them. Okay. So you automatically get moved to the top of the wait list. So, think about it. People pay for Amazon Prime for what? Early delivery or free delivery. Um, and so some months they probably don't even use it, but they pay for it. Maybe a Prime membership gets you, depending on where you have parking, maybe it gets them free parking, or maybe it gets them a free guest pass a month or something to that effect. Okay. Um, what about another idea? Like you could do let's see, what would I call it? You could do like a studio ambassador tier that's low cost. Maybe it's only like $20 a month. And then you have on your schedule member only classes. So whoever's involved in this, whoever pays for this studio ambassador program they're the only ones that have access to these member only classes. And maybe you have them taught by your best instructor or your most popular instructor, or they get, again, first dibs on a wait list, or they get free access to workshops, or they get free classes when you're auditioning a new instructor. They get stuff like that. They get to be part of your market research, where you ask them their opinions on new classes and new platforms and new services and possibly even new instructors. Let's see. Another type of idea is, creating this buzz about being like an insider, like maybe some sort of a flagship program, right? Where you can test new, I kind of just said this already. You can test new offerings. So if you're going to try like I don't know, Pilates and TRX or something like that, they get access to test these classes for a month and give you their feedback. Maybe they get exclusive invitations to different workshops or first dibs on specialty classes when you do pop-up classes for the month. So basically, they're all like the same idea. How can you create buzz for people to opt into these different tiered memberships? And they're like small. So they would be like $39 a month, right? Or $29 a month. They get access to on demand. They get access to doing these new member only classes, right? So it's a low price point that they pay in addition to their packages or memberships for their actual classes. So it's just something to create excitement and exclusivity while providing valuable feedback to our people, right? It's a great way to build a little bit of revenue without necessarily doing more work. All right. So let's talk now about, so we talked about delegating. We talked about pricing. We talked about service expansion. All right. What about when we talk about hiring? Okay. So another way to help improve your growth so that you're not hitting the growth ceiling is to build a self-sufficient team. What happens to a lot of us, and I did this, I created by my own doing a bunch of little task rabbits. And that was myself. I did that myself because I had to approve and redo and this and that for everything. So people were actually afraid of making decisions. And so they wouldn't make decisions. They'd be like, oh, this is happening. What do you want to do? So I fixed things a lot because I'm a fixer and because that's what I did. And there's all sorts of reasons why. But we have to have a hiring philosophy that goes beyond just hiring on skills and hiring on talent. Okay. You want to make sure that you have a cultural fit, that there is a value alignment between what your values are, your core values of your business, and the person you're trying to hire. So, how can you look for and hire and train self starters, people that take initiative, people that don't need a ton of direction? Is learn to ask those kind of questions in the interview. Create role clarity from day one. Like, these are my expectations. These are what you will be assessed on. And so when it comes time to your performance reviews, it's very, very objective. Like, did you meet these goals? Yes or no? Make sure that in the training process, it's clear there is documentation of these processes, whether it be written out in long form copy or whether they're videos of how you can train people how to do it. There's all sorts of software out there now where you can do screen shares and screen recordings of how you do certain things in their businesses, in your business. There are a lot of different scheduling platforms have a robust learning management system. And so there's lots of ways that you can create this. Now, does it take a little work on the front end? Yes, but hopefully on the back end, the outcome, the deliverables will be much, much better. And then what kind of quality control mechanisms are you implementing to make sure to follow up, to make sure and hold them accountable and give them feedback in a manner that works for both of you, right? If you wait 6 months to tell them they've been doing it wrong, that's like a real uh energetic crusher for these people. Like, you want to try to be giving them feedback, especially when they're first starting out, weekly, monthly, quarterly. You don't want to wait till 6 months to give them feedback. You really want to try to give it to them in an orderly fashion so that they can change that behavior. So this is where in the process, you have to stop being the bottleneck and you have to start transitioning from the doer of everything in your business to the coach, to the leader, to the CEO of how you can manage the people that are now doing the work. Yeah, it takes some time. It takes some time. Okay. Um, but it's also a part of how you can create a self-sufficient team where things are not revolving around you to make decisions all the time. Now, this does take time. This is what one of the things I was telling you. It is a long game. It is, these things could take a year, 12 to 18 months, but you have to start. Right? So, what one thing can you take from this podcast to help you recognize if you are at a ceiling in your business? And instead of complaining about it, instead of, the woe is me, I'm so busy, I can't take time. I hear this all the time from people. I can't do the coaching calls, I'm so busy. But my business sucks and nobody does anything and da da da. Well, like you can make the change that you want to see in your business. You just have to make that a priority. So, what is one thing that you can focus on right now that will get you to your goal of in a year having a self-sufficient team? Pick one thing that you want to work on. Is it you delegating better? Is it you creating the systems? Is it you delegating somebody else to create the SOPs and the systems? It really is also important that we do celebrate the small wins along the way. So if you finally get to the point where you're like, all right, Jane, I really want you to create the SOPs for what you do in terms of answering the phone and how you return emails, and we're going to work on that together for the next 30 days. Celebrate that win. That was the first step. Okay. And the last step doesn't get done unless the first step is done. And so taking the first step is the biggest win for you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. So if you want some help, in recognizing where the bottlenecks in your business and how you can create a self-sufficient team so that you open up a little bit of bandwidth in your schedule and in your vision and in your growth potential, right? We have lots of tools, templates, and different resources in our FitBiz monthly membership. And there is no commitment to that membership. You can sign up for a month and you can decide you don't like it and you can cancel. Okay. For $99 a month, that's the less than the cost of a private session in Pilates. All right. For less than the cost of a private session, you will get access to a ton of video trainings that talk about how to level up as a leader, how to delegate, that elevate and delegate workshop and worksheet where you can figure out what you need to be delegating and how to do that. We do 2 live coaching calls each and every month. That's right, 2 coaching calls for only $99, plus the course, plus all the resources, plus access to a Facebook group community where there's, I don't know, 20, 25 other business owners in there right now that are all going through the same thing. And you get the kind of supports to help you implement these things in real time. And like I said, it's $99 a month. There's no better course out there, I think, right now. So you get access to all of it and you can cancel anytime. $99. So if you're not going to invest in yourself to try to get the help that you need to move the business forward, how do you expect your clients to invest that, right? There comes a point in all of our career where we have to bet on ourselves. And we have to take the time to say, now is the time. I am going to join this community because I know that there is value that I can learn in there. Okay. And even if we can free up 1 more hour of your week, it's paid for itself. It's paid for itself. If we free up 1 hour of your week, okay, and you charge $100 for a private, that's $400 a month and you're getting access to it for $99. It really is a no-brainer. So if you're interested, go to my website, to www.christagurka.com/fitbizfoundations. Check it out. We'll link that in the show notes. And I really hope to see you in the group with the rest of this amazing community that we have, all full of female fitness and wellness business owners and Pilates, yoga, physical therapy. What else do we have in there? Personal trainers. We have all sorts of things in there, pelvic health practitioners. It's a really, really great community of women that are helping each other navigate the joys and challenges of entrepreneurship. So, and if you have any questions about it, feel free to check out my Instagram page at Christa Gurka. You can DM me over there. But once again, I encourage you to join FitBiz Foundation membership. It's a monthly membership, www.christagurka.com/FitBizFoundations. And until next time, ladies, bye for now.